All right, we are all. I think we're all set.
Okay, we're ready to go. So let's start where we talked about. I want you to remind the voters why you decided you want to be the next governor of Washington.
Well, most people don't know that I've been asked to run for governor since 2000. Dino Rossi was the first one to come to me and say, "Hey, you need to run," and so it's been a consistent every cycle, and I've always said, never say never. You never know, but this is not the right time. This was the right time. When Governor Inslee decided to retire, my phone was ringing off the hook. My wife's phone, my kids, all adults obviously by now, my grandkids' phones were ringing, emails, and so I'm Christian, so we prayed about it. We talked about it as a family. Dad, you got to do this. I knew I had to do it, and not. I've never. This has not been a goal of mine to be the governor. It's been something that people have encouraged me to do. I feel compelled. I feel energized to do this because I have 5 great-grandchildren and 1 great-grandchild on the way, and I want to change the direction that we're going here in Washington State, not just for my own family, obviously, but for all families in Washington State, just to bring sort of a reality check. Are we really headed down the right path? And then to show people that we can work together. Imagine having a Republican governor with a Democrat House and Senate, where there's an opportunity now to actually have a conversation instead of just ramming bills through and being rubber stamped. And so I'm running for all the families here in Washington State. I'm running because I know the criminal justice system is absolutely broken. I'm running because we're not helping the homeless. In fact, it's gotten worse. Yes, we can point to a few successes, but we've wasted a lot of money on homeless. I'm running because the economy is so out of control that our young people can't even look at buying a condominium or their first home. And I'm running because our education system needs to be refocused on the STEAM acronym, which is science, technology, engineering, arts, and math.
You know, we've done some polling at KOMO News with Strategies 360, and what was interesting to us is that the 2 top issues are cost of living and crime.
Yep.
How does that jive with what you're seeing and feeling and hearing from voters?
Yeah, that's absolutely true. I think our polling, which we haven't done any because we don't have enough money to do a poll, but here's the polling effort that we participate in, and that is knock on doors, door to door to door, and I think we're over 120,000 doors that we've knocked on, talked to people, and the economy and crime are the number 1 and 2 issues that people are concerned about.
I have to ask you, we are 6 days out. Time is running out. How are you feeling, particularly looking at the polls? You know, our polls show a 10-point difference between you and Ferguson.
Yeah.
That's significant, double digit.
Yeah. No, it's not.
Okay. Tell me why.
Well, I'll tell you why. Because I've been down 10 points before, shortly before a campaign. I've been down numbers before in my 7 campaigns for Congress, not as the sheriff. So I don't really look at the numbers. I know people, they watch the news and the candidate will come on and go, "Oh yeah, don't pay attention." I really don't. I've listened to people, and I think there's a undercurrent of this movement that's happening around the state that can't be measured by polls. There are people who don't answer, don't respond to polling questions. They just delete, right? There are folks who don't even get those messages who are knocking on doors. So I feel, just from all the anecdotal things that have happened over this last almost year and a half, that there is a huge undercurrent of support. And so I go into these last 6 days with a very positive outlook on our chances. We're going to win. I believe that, yes. And I think Bob Ferguson is scared, and that's why these ads continue to be, why are they spending $12 million or more continuing to show these ads that are untruthful? Because they're afraid I'm very close.
Let's talk a little bit about the untruthfulness that you mentioned here, and just this era that we live in, where people have got to suss out the right information. I mean, and
Yes.
how do you counter that? How do you make sure
Yeah.
that the information is getting out? And I think we should talk a little bit about, you're positive and you feel confident, but what are you going to do in these next 6 days?
Yeah. Well, most voters, D or R, have already decided who they're voting for, and traditionally, Democrats start out in the state with an automatic 48%. So we're fighting over, a percentage of swing voters, moderate Democrats, which I think are voters that I think are looking for someone who's more inclined to make decisions based on fact. I've never been a person who comes from an ideological place in my life. I'm an old cop, right? Cops, it's the old Dragnet show, if the young people may not understand it, but Joe Friday, just the facts man. So I really think that people are looking for honesty, and so the way we combat these ads, we try to talk about the truth as much as we can. And one of the things that we've done is we have written letters through our attorney to TV stations asking for them to cease and desist in playing these ads because they're untruthful. And we provide documentation for the basis of our argument as to the untruth. For example, I never said that teachers' pay should be cut. What I said was, we have some of the highest paid teachers in the country, and that's a true fact. We are fourth in the nation when it comes, and I think that's great. So that's just one untruth. So you can go to each one of the ads that have been played, and every one of those has taken a clip or taken a piece of a vote and built a scare tactic. Their campaign is based on fear and lies. Our campaign is built on fact, truth, honesty, integrity, and servanthood.
I know that in the last debate, you had said to Ferguson, I hate to disappoint you, but I'm not supporting Donald Trump. But you have supported Mr. Trump in the past and his policies. How do voters reconcile that?
Well, and it's not Trump policies. It's policies that. So what do you expect from a conservative? You expect that they might be fiscally conservative. You expect that they might be very supportive of law enforcement. You expect that to localize and nationalize this campaign at the same time. You might expect that the border be secure, because we now are impacted by the decisions that have been made in the last 4 years in regard to securing the border. So when you talk about those and fiscal conservativeness, those are votes that I would take no matter who was president. I have 9 bills at home that I have initiated in Congress that are signed. You're only invited to a signing ceremony when they're your bills. And so 7 of those bills are signed by President Obama. 1 is signed by George Bush, and 1 is signed by Donald Trump. So, and people don't know that. So if you can be successful with a Democrat president as a Republican, and you can be successful as a Republican member of Congress with Republican presidents, I know I can be successful as a Republican governor with whomever is in office.
61% of the folks polled through the KOMO News Strategies 360 poll gave an unfavorable rating to Donald Trump in the state, 61%. Do you want to speak to those voters about that 61% in terms of where you stand with
Well,
Trump?
what does that tell you? That 61, if 48% is the number that Democrats usually get when they first announce their candidacy, and you're talking about 61%. So that means that it's not just the far left and the Democrat Party that's not too excited about Donald Trump's presidency, but it also means that moderate voters and Republican voters are not happy with his candidacy. My belief is, when I look at both candidates, I don't think we really have the best from either party, and that's what I'm looking at. I think there are better choices out there that the parties could have put forth for us as informed voters to make a decision on. That's where I'm at.
I know you're very confident about Tuesday. If you do not win, what are you going to be most worried about?
Oh, well, I'm going to be very worried about an additional 4 years of the same failed solutions being applied to the current issues that we're facing. And I've already laid those out, the top 4 that I see, but there's a lot of underlying issues that fall underneath the substance abuse issue, mental illness, etc. But I'm going to be worried about the fact that the same solutions will be applied. There'll be no change. My opponent claims he's the change agent, but he's been in that office for 12 years, supporting the legalization of drugs, including fentanyl, supporting the efforts to defund the police, which has led us to this chaotic crime state of affairs that we are experiencing today. It's just going to be the same. I think our state will become more dangerous and more unsafe, and when that happens, more businesses will leave, more people leave, and then you have to tax the people that stay, then you'll have to tax them more in order to gain the revenue lost by everyone leaving the state. So I'm also concerned about focus of our education system. I'm worried that there's a lot of dictating from Olympia to cities and counties and school districts. This is what you will do, and this is how you will do it. And there should be a standard set by the state government, but then they should allow local communities to work together to solve their problems within those guidelines and those standards. So, yes. Yep.
Thank you for that. I want to know too, you know, and this is no secret, I mean, we know it always seems to be an uphill battle for a Republican seeking the governor's mansion. I mean, it's been since the 80s, but Rossi got very close, and you know, McKenna got pretty close too. So what do you think it's going to take, you know, if not you, what's it going to take to get a Republican in the governor's mansion?
Yeah. You know, that's a question that I've been asked a lot throughout the campaign. And here's what's confusing to most people, and myself included, and that is, it seems like people in Washington State have said, you know, why can't we get a moderate Republican, someone who's thoughtful, who's common sense? Why can't we find someone like that to run in this Democrat-controlled state? And then when you finally do get one, me, to stand up and do it and take the arrows and get slapped around and have lies told about him and his career, it seems to me that the media is more concerned about protecting Bob Ferguson and the legacy of the Democrat Party. It's all about the power of the party rather than giving a voice to the opposite side. So when when my attorneys write letters to the stations laying out facts that clearly prove that these ads are wrong, but they continue to run them, I ask myself, and others ask me, do people in Washington State really want a conservative, moderate, common sense thinker to run in this state?
I'm curious if Roe v. Wade hadn't been overturned, do you think the polls would be a little bit different in terms of how you're doing? Do you think the abortion issue is a sticking point in the election? It certainly has been a focus of both campaigns, and maybe more so of Ferguson.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's another lie. It's a lame and cowardly campaign, and it's just following the national campaign tactic. And again, it's all about fear, and it's all about lies. And it wouldn't matter whether the Supreme Court had made this decision or not. They still would have used that, because they've used it against me before in my congressional runs. And people know me by now. I have a belief, a personal belief, but I have no intention, none at all, to try to change any abortion laws in Washington State. The voters of Washington State have spoken since 1970. My intention is to support the current laws and women's rights to choose and have health care in Washington State. And I mean, it's that simple, but they continue to run those ads that are untruthful. I never once voted for a national ban on abortion. And
Would you support a federal ban on abortion?
No, I would not. So I've never voted for a federal ban on abortion. Why would I support one now? In fact, the vote that I took was actually a vote to, it was a vote in favor of viability, which was, back in 2016, was defined as 20 weeks. And today, it's 24 weeks here in Washington State, or 26 weeks. And so I guess if you wanted to apply the logic to my opponent, who supports Washington State laws, as I do, you could say that he actually supports a ban on abortion after 24 weeks. So this is not a logical argument that he's making, and it's a lie to say that I voted for a ban. The second lie in those ads is that I have always said from day one that I support the exceptions, which is incest, the life of the mother and life of the child. Those have always been my position, never have wavered from those, but yet the commercials, the ads will lead people to believe that I have. They're absolutely untrue.
Last question for you, unless there's something you want to add, for the person or the people that are watching this, and they're thinking, I'm not sure, I'm weighing it out. What's that final message to them?
Well, the final message is no. Are you happy with the way things are here in Washington State? When you look at crime across the state, are you happy with the fact that your car insurance has gone up because we've allowed people to steal cars at the rate of almost 100 cars a day? I just talked to a gentleman a couple weeks ago, had his car stolen twice in one day. Are you happy with the fact that we have the highest murder rate in the country here in Washington State? Are you happy with the fact that we have one of the highest cost of living rates here in Washington State? Are you happy with the fact that your kids may not be receiving the education that they need? Are you happy with the fact that government has not been honest with you? How can you lose $1.1 billion of COVID money That money's been spent somewhere, and they just don't want to tell us where they spent it. Are you happy with the fact that they spent over $1 billion on homelessness, and there's been really no impact on the homelessness crisis here in Washington State at all? And if you are not happy, it's time to vote for a conservative, thoughtful, fact-based candidate who is willing to come in and work with Democrats and understand that government is the servant and we need to be honest with people.
We'll leave it there.
Yep, thank you.
Thank you.